Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motorcast. This is your host, Dave. I got a line special guest, the redheaded stepchild, alcohol funny car driver, Steve Cluck. How are you tonight, Steve?
Pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm dandy. So first question I got for you, Steve, is how'd you get involved in drag racing?
Well, that's a good question. Started back in '82. Had a couple friends who started out with I don't know if you call it a sea car dragster or what at the time. It was just a front motor car, and they sort of drugged me in as helping them, and that progressed all the way up to we went injected alcohol to blown alcohol by '80, and I don't know, just a bunch of kids having fun trying to do something exciting. Did a little bit of everything from tried bracket racing, tried to top alcohol racing, and didn't have much luck. We weren't very competitive, but it was just fun to go out there and say we could or try.
Right. So how many different cars have you drag raced in throughout your career?
I had a front engine dragster, and injected alcohol in that, and then up until when I ran out of that, probably in 1983. Didn't really do anything until I started back up just recently here.
With the redheaded stepchild?
No, the funny thing is, it sort of started with an S10. I was going to go just do the street, whatever they called it thing, and I put an LS motor in that, was going to play with it. Never finished the project, and I was scanning around on Craigslist one day and found an altered frame, or actually an altered body. I talked to my wife about it. She says, yeah, let's try it. Let's see, do some nostalgia racing. So we started up and looked at an S&W chassis kit and bought the body for $500 out of Portland here, and it just sort of went from that to putting a blown big block Chevy in the thing on alcohol, and I tried running with the Pro Nostalgia group for a couple of years, and then Randy Parker and his wife talked us into going to the Double B Funny Car thing, and that's where we run into. We wanted to build a funny car. We actually started off where we were going to lay up a CUDA body with Randy, going that route, and after the Craigslist thing, I think it was Racing Junk. We were looking around on there and found an ad that I think it was R.J. Trotter was selling a car he built back in 2000. And I was talking to him. He said he sold the chassis. It was a Worsham chassis, and he had a bunch of guys down there interested in it for altered racing. So he said he was going to sell the chassis, and we told him we'd work him out a deal with the body. So we bought that original body that had the Blair Speed Shop on it, and one thing led to another.
So how did the redheaded stepchild name come about?
Oh, that's an interesting one. It's sort of the trials and tribulations we went through for the years, and how we sort of came about from everything in our lives. My wife and I talked about. In the car itself, we pieced together with a bunch of used pieces, and we sort of felt like it was all hand-me-down, or redheaded stepchild. So that's the best we could say.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Just have to have as much fun as we can.
So now, how many times have you ran the funny car now?
After the last race, I've run it personally only 12 times. We had Randy Parker in the car about the first 4 or 5 passes to sort things out after we built it to make sure what was going to happen and make sure it handled okay. And until we were started to do some testing up at the Nitro Funny Car thing in Seattle, is why we went up there, and one of the other guys in the, I guess you call it the sort of Double B group, had broken the car, and they were put on a promotional deal with Bucky's group and donor. They said, hey, we're short one car, you want to come run with us? Randy Parker did, and Tim Parker, and we said, sure, we'd love to. So that was actually the first time I'd been, if you want to call it competition, with Tim Parker alongside of me, and first time I'd ever made a pass in the car with somebody alongside of me trying to win.
Yeah, that's how I found out about you, because my buddy Joe Waller was doing a live Facebook video, and I saw you running.
Yeah, we'd seen them out there. I was trying to figure out who was out in the middle of the track when we were making passes, filming, and I thought, that guy got some guts standing out in the middle of them cars.
Hell yeah. So, what's the quickest ET you've had with that car now?
The best we've done with it right now is a 672 seems to be on average. Our index is a 670 for our group, and we're sneaking up on it. We're trying to do the learning curve of how to tune it right for different conditions and things like that. So 672 is our best at this time.
Now next year, you think you'll try to do anything with Funny Car Chaos?
I don't know. My wife and I were just going over some of that stuff, and we saw some of the races for the alcohol offender stuff that runs sort of in the semi area and the Funny Car Chaos. Going into last year, we were happy enough to get the car going. You know, we were scrambling through the winter to do the changeover because at the end of last season, the car actually had a big block Chevy and a Power Glide and no front end, and we sort of dropped towards the end of last season running the altered and started the transformation of changing the car over. We put the Hemi in, we put the B&J in, full changeover. Randy Parker helped us a lot on where to put the engine and everything. We cut the roll cage off it. We put a new roll cage on for the Funny Car. We put a complete set of A-frames on the front and helped us a lot on the positioning of the fire system up in the front. And then we fit the bottles, and it just, going into this season, we didn't know when we were going to be done. And actually, we had a test session May 5th up at Seattle for our group, and we did the best we could to go up there. And we did. We made some passes. Actually made one pass and had some transmission problems. So we didn't know quite what to plan for the season. So we just planned with the Northwest Double B Funny Car Association on running those races, and we made all of them. Had been making all of them except for going over to Firebird Raceway. We missed that race. Going into next year, we plan on doing as many as we can through the summer.
So now, Steve, have you thought about running the car as a fuel altered also?
As a what?
Fuel altered, change bodies?
We do. We kept the old body. We got a 23T body. We kept it. We have to go back, and the thing was a little hairy to drive before without a wing, so I sold the wing off by trying to put the Funny Car together, so we probably have to go back and purchase a wing. Maybe, I don't know, but we talked about it. It just depends on what the races are and what kind of promotionals they're doing. The altered thing is coming up more and more. It's totally different to drive than the Funny Car. It's amazing how much force and bodies will put on the car versus the altered doesn't.
Right. So how many more events do you have planned for this year?
We only have actually one more race in September 21st to 23rd at Woodburn Racetrack. We're going to go up to, we call it FAR, Pacific International Raceway, to do some testing on the 25th to see if we could sneak up to that 670, 669 number, just so we can get a little more tuning under our belt, maybe with some more seat time. So that's about the only two things we have. There's not a lot going with the tracks in this area. They're all pretty much booked up for the regional events and stuff. So it's a little hard to get up and do anything.
Okay, now when you first started getting into drag racing, were there any drivers out there that were inspirational to you back then?
Oh yes, two of them were very instrumental. That sort of put me over the edge of the Funny Cars was Mike Miller with KSW car and Bucky Austin with his car. I'll tell you, those two I just used to drool over when we used to go up the racetrack and see them. And a lot when we went up there was the days of the 32 and 64 Funny Cars, but for some reason those two cars always stuck in my mind the best.
Yeah, Bucky's Nitro Funny Car is like on fire this year.
Oh yeah, it is. And when we were up at Mission, we went over and we talked to him a little bit, and he'd come over and we didn't have a lot of experience with the motor as far as set the timing and stuff, and he took the time to come over and give us some tips and pointers on what to do, how to do it, and amazing man. I'm always so shocked to watch him and Randy Parker to take those engines and go, okay, you need 3 more degrees, and they'll grab that mag and they'll turn it a little bit tight there, and they'll fire it up and look at the pointer on the, timing light, and it's right there. I'm in awe every time I see them guys work on cars.
Now, have you ever had a thought about doing nitromethane?
I'd love to if we ever could come up with the sponsor money to do it. I see what those guys go through and how much they spend and what it costs per run. But boy, it does look amazing. It would be something else to do. It would have to be down the road, and I'll tell you, by that time, there'll probably be somebody else driving the car.
Now, when do you get this funny car ready for a weekend of drag race? What goes into preparation to get this car ready?
Usually what happens is it's my wife and I at the house. We go through everything from usually drop the pan, check the bearings, just to make sure what's going on, change the oil, set the clutch, if it's due for the transmission oil to be changed, and just basic once-over, check the chassis, look at a little bit of everything, and get our notes in order for the team and that kind of stuff, and try to figure out whose responsibility, who we got going to the next race. And, of course, you get all the fun parts, making sure you got the motel rooms reserved and what we're going to eat and, all the preparation that goes into it. We usually try to get up at the track, fairly early and get the wheelie bar in the car and all that kind of stuff before the team shows up so everybody can have a bit of relaxation before we get out and make the first round. But it's just a lot of motor prep work and a lot of looking over the car, and making sure it's safe and ready to go.
So at the track, does Patty takes care of all the food?
No, she's not a cook. She's more of the team manager type of. She starts the car and keeps track of a lot of the data we're trying to do and that kind of stuff. That's more her forte, I should say.
Right. So how many crew members do you have total besides Patty, and who are your crew members?
We have Darren. He's been with us from the beginning. He's helped us quite a bit. We picked up a couple other people as of the Seattle Nitro thing. We just happened to be walking through, and we said, hey, we need help, because Darren wasn't there at the time, and it was just Patty and I, and we picked up another guy, Chuck Bryant. He ended up living just probably 3 miles away from us, and I don't know why he's hooked on this, but he seems to love coming into it. Our daughter just recently moved back here from Tennessee, so she was big into the four-wheeling and stuff, and she fell in love with the drag racing, I guess. She's down there changing engine oil. She's inspecting transmission. She's doing whatever she needs to do. We sort of set it up, and her next thing is she wants to get on the clutch and do some of that. And then we're very fortunate. We had Tom Luppy. His dad drove a nitro car for many years. He came over and helped us at the funny car thing, and we hope to bring him on more next year, if his time allows. But really, we're still trying to pick up crew people, because everybody's got a life, everybody's got a job, and we never know who can really make, life happens at the last minute type of thing, unfortunately. So we can lose people, so we try to cross-train people and get as much help as we can, and worst case scenario, we'll walk in the crowd and say, hey, you want to have fun for a day? It'll be the most misery you'll have, but it'll be fun. And you'll be surprised if people will actually say, I'd love to help.
Now, do you think your daughter would ever drive the funny car?
Well, we don't know. We started out with there's no way she would, till all of a sudden she's starting to sit in the car. So, it wouldn't. She's been talking a lot with Stephanie Parker, so you never know how that would change. We would definitely give her the opportunity. I think we almost got her talked into going to Frank Hawley and maybe running the 990 class or whatever and seeing what it's all about. And who knows what the next step from there would be.
So where did you get your funny car? Where did you get licensed at?
Just by going out there in the school of hard knocks. Because of the altered, I had my 125, or whatever they call it, the shorter wheelbase license, so I went into it already. And we just, when we first started out, it had the regular, sportsman's license, and then we decided to step it up with the altar to go to the advanced ET, and all that basically transferred over to the funny car when we started running, putting the body on. So it was a lot of learning curve of just driving the car, see what would happen, and a lot of scaring the heck out of me. And, with an altar, you never know which way it's going sometimes.
So now, for you, Steve, with the funny car, what was it like for the first time getting behind the wheel of the funny car?
I was scared to death. I did not know what to think. Tim Parker kept telling me, when that body closes, it's a whole new world. And she was 100% right. From not knowing which direction the altar was going to go, when I let off the transfer, going to a funny car with the clutch and everything, it was the driving part was the easiest. It was like I stepped back in the altar and I could pick my points on the track and be prepared for the end. What screwed me up the worst getting into the funny car was the clutch. Is learning where to stage, how to pre-stage, when to let it go, not to overheat the clutch. It just that part of it was really the toughest part. The actual driving part, once I let the clutch out and was going down the track, this car handles so much better than the altar. It was amazing. And closing the body around me, I thought it was going to be claustrophobic, and it's a whole different world. It's like so much nicer when the body drops. It's just life's easier.
So now, currently, you don't have any sponsors for your car, right?
No, we have nothing. This is all out of my life and my own pocket.
Now, what kind of advice would you give anybody that's listening right now that would even think about driving a alcohol funny car?
I would say, no matter what you do, how you do it, where you want to do it, go to somebody that's a professional, like Parker's, like Bucky Austin, like somebody like that. Get the base information. Make sure you get a safe car to begin with, and go out and have fun. It is the most amazing thing. Once you run a blown car, it's just like you're on top of the world.
So now, what are the most frequent tracks that you run at?
Woodburn seems to be the most one we'd run at over the years because of Pro Nostalgia running there and the Double D Fun Car Association. We try to do as much testing as we can up at Seattle or Pacific Raceway because it's probably an hour and a half from our house. For running the Double B car, we're pretty limited where to go. I mean, we can go to Mission. We've only been there once this year. We plan on going back again, but the closest we're practicing, like I say, is Pacific, but basically our home track is Woodburn, Oregon.
Now, which tracks would you consider your favorites?
I really like Seattle. I like just the preparation of it, just the runoff, everything. Woodburn's great to run at, everything. It just, the little turn area down there at the end is a little tough sometimes in a funny car and alter. You got to make a pretty tight turn. I don't know how them long dragsters are doing it, to tell you the truth. But they're all great, Only reason I like Pacific better, closer to the house. Woodburn seems to be a long drive with going through the Portland traffic for us. Sort of gets a little stressful sometimes.
So now, do you do quarter mile and eighth mile racing both?
We're just done quarter mile. I've never done eighth mile yet. I've heard a lot of guys. I talked to a couple guys in the eastern states about that. They say once you go eighth, you're going to love it. But us personally, we haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I know some guys say it saves on the car.
Yeah, I hear a lot of that, but I just tell you, it's hard to beat that thing when it's turning up that high and you're shifting at the blast.
Now, if you ever think about doing funny car chaos events, then you're gonna have to run eighth mile.
Oh yeah. If they come within a decent tow distance for us, we will do an 8 mile or quarter mile. There's no problem there. It's just my wife and I both work for school districts, so sometimes it's a little tough getting time off. To we're not like some of these big guys. You got a 20-foot enclosed trailer and a older Chevy pickup, and we load the thing up as best we can and head down the track. So it's a little tough, for us getting there, but giving us anything that we can handle, within an 8-hour drive, we're going to give it a shot.
Now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from, like your fire suit and everything?
What safety equipment?
Yeah, your fire safety equipment. Where do you get all your fire suit from? Your gloves, your helmet, everything.
Excuse me. Most of our safety blankets and stuff, Taylor's pretty close. They're out of Oregon, so we get from them. They're very good at supplying our products. I just call them up, say here's what I need, and he can set me up. I'll tell you, most of the fire suits, fire bottles, all that stuff, racing junk's been our friend. Like I said, we're back to the red-headed stepchild thing. We've had to piece this thing together as much as we can. It's a little tight in the beginning with money, so we get whatever we can new. Holland, of course, we bought that new from Simpson, that kind of stuff. And gloves, and those little things, we buy those new. But the bigger stuff, like my suit, I bought that 4 years ago when we first started with the Altered, and knowing that we'd get to FDD where I needed a 20 suit, and I just happened to find a guy that was in I think he's in the Great Lakes Hunting Car Association or something like that. He had it, sold it to me, and he said it's in great shape. I'll tell you, I got it. We had to go back through research, send it down to Simpson, and it came back, and he said, "Dude's great. Here you go. Another 5 years on it."
All right, the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit. That's what you're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yep.
Dennis Salzwimmer runs that group.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about him. He sent me some of the hero cards when I dealt with him. I think the guy we dealt with runs a quarter pounder funny car down there in that group in alcohol.
Yeah, the quarter pounder is with them. Yeah, they just had their big funny car nationals. That would probably be a cool event to be in, the funny car nationals with like 30 alcohol funny cars.
Yeah. Oh, that would be neat. Yeah. We'd love to do something like that. I mean, we'd heard there's one over in Idaho also where they run the nitro cars and a bunch of alcohol cars. I think I've heard of that. We wouldn't mind being a part of that.
Yeah, that would be good too.
Yeah, that's our goal for next year. We're working on some things. We just found from a guy in Michigan. He's got a used data logger. We're very excited to get that because then we can actually tell what's going on. Maybe do some more learning from that, and with the input that Randy Parker's given us on tuning this thing. Everything for consistency, what we can do, and when we have to, maybe step it up a bit without hurting it.
Now, you said the body for the funny car is a Barracuda?
No, we're a 69 Camaro.
69 Camaro.
We started out originally wanting to do a Cuda, but it just didn't work out, and we found this one. It's a 69 Camaro that, from what I was told, it was purchased as a sister with a Rupert Littlefield car, Jason Rupert's car.
Right.
This one, they were all supposed to have been built at the same time, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of information on it when Blair Speed Shop had sponsored under RJ Trotter's car, and I read some information when I was talking to RJ about where the body come from. That's the stories he was telling me about it. They were down in the California area. I just stumbled upon it and talked to him, and he gave me all the information on the body. He sold us all the extras, the stand and the body and the extra windshield, and it had all the tin work when we got it. So we didn't have a lot of modification to the body when we put it on. It was just pretty easy. It took about a week to fit it.
So what kind of tires you run on, Goodyears or Hoosiers?
Goodyears. We run Goodyears foot to 34.5 by 16 by 17.
So now, since you've been drag racing, what do you have any milestones so far?
Any what was that?
Any milestones so far? Have you tackled any milestones?
Well, actually, the biggest milestone, believe it or not, for me and the crew and everything, I think, is when we were at Mission Raceway about 4 or 5 weeks ago, getting into that 699 at 203. That was, I'd never been that fast. The guys, anybody in the group had never been with a car that gone that fast. I think that was a pretty big milestone for us, Small accomplished, but once we hit that point, it was like a big stress reliever to say we at least got to fix it at that point.
Okay, now Steve, throughout your drag racing career, have you had any accidents or close accidents at all?
No, knock on wood, luckily not. I'm hoping it's more from the beginning, driving a drag car to, for quite a while, we were into sand rails and that kind of stuff and off-road, learning how to drive. I hope that's helped me to avoid accidents on the altered and the funny car, because I'll tell you, some of the things you come out of and you go, why didn't I lift? I don't know why. And I'm hoping I attribute that to some of the off-road driving we used to do.
Have you won any trophies yet?
No, not yet. I mean, it's not really to speak of winning anything. I've got probably the worst reaction times in the world. My wife says I'm improving, and I think she's just telling me that to make me feel better. But it's one of those things that we'll get there. We're the fun thing with this group, with the Northwest Double-B Funny Car Association, it's going to be who runs closest to the index, and we're inching our way up there, and that's our goal.
Okay, so now Steve, we're at the fun questioning portion of the interview. Now, you ready for some fun questions here?
Sure.
Do you have any hobbies outside of drag racing?
Not anymore. This car consumes every bit of it. It's like, it's an obsession, I hate to say, because once we started it, you can ask my wife, it's like I lived out in the garage, and I need help. I need you to help me put this on, put that on, and, I love building things, and sometimes I wondered if I just sort of outdid myself trying to think I could change the chassis around, or even when we started building the chassis. I mean, there's more time and more thought, and I try to be one of them guys that you put 3 hours of thought into it rather than 3 hours of repair, because I don't want to do it twice and 3 times, And I listen to all the other people who worked with me, and then, like I say, Randy Parker's one of the big ones of do this, here's the reason why, because if you don't, it's going to bite you later. And he's very correct.
So now, if you were able to do time traveling, Steve, and go back in time, would you do anything differently in your drag racing career?
Well, yes, and it's before my drag racing career. What I would have done is went back about 15 years ago, and somewhere along the lines, we got the bright idea to open a restaurant. And I would have taken that money, never opened a restaurant, because when people tell you don't open a restaurant, they are right. Taking that money and bought a funny car right in the beginning, instead of wasting our time and waiting 20 years, 10 years to do it, I should say, before. So, how's that, sir?
What kind of restaurant did you open?
We opened, for some reason, we got the brainstorm to open one down in Reedsport, Oregon, and we called it the Half-Ass Cafe. We were catering to the dunes, to all the people riding down the sand and everything, which was great. But fortunately, the economy turned, and everybody went from motor homes when they couldn't leave the sand to trucks and trailers, and they could leave and go Safeway or whatever, buy food. So it sort of was our demise, but that was a lesson learned.
Yeah. So now, with this funny car group you're racing with now, is there a greatest competitor in that group for you?
Is there what kind of competitor for us?
Is there a greatest competitor in that group so far?
The greatest one?
Yeah, is there one competitor that like? Is you like your greatest competitor in the group that you're running with?
Greg Howland seems to be winning a lot. He's the points. I think he might be points this year. Yeah, Usually it's